So, what would it actually take to build a national safety net for immigrant communities? I'm not talking about one funded by charity, but one funded by the community itself. Today, we're going to dig into a really ambitious blueprint for a venture called Lumara that wants to do exactly that. Let's see how they plan to pull it off. Okay, so to really get Lumara, you have to start with its core mission. And, this is way more than just a business idea. It's a response to a very real, very human need. They frame it as being a light in the dark. You're not alone. It's so simple, right? But this promise, this is the foundation for the entire concept. If you're a family navigating a brand new country, maybe facing language barriers or just a ton of financial uncertainty, that message of connection is absolutely everything. It's the emotional heart of this whole plan. So, how do you take that promise and make it real? Well, the mission is to create a 24/7 safety net. The whole goal is to build a system so that when life hits hardest, and we all know it does, whether it's a financial crisis, a legal problem, a personal emergency, no one has to face that all by themselves. So how do you turn that big mission into a service people can actually use? The plan uses this really fascinating analogy to explain the business model. They call it the AA for immigrants. And the concept, it's actually really simple, but it's super powerful. You know how you pay a small monthly fee for AAA just to have that peace of mind when you're on the road? Lumara is proposing the exact same model, but for life's emergencies. It's basically a subscription to a support network that's always ready to help when you need it most. And the support they're talking about offering, it is incredibly comprehensive. It's not just one thing. We're talking 24/7 help in multiple languages, access to emergency funds, help with job and housing searches. They've even got an AI assistant. I think the thinking here is that a crisis is almost never just a single problem, right? It's like this web of issues that are all connected. So this is designed to be a complete toolkit for getting back on your feet. Now, this pricing structure is absolutely key to their whole model, but keeping the cost down to, a few cups of coffee a month. They're not trying to be some high-end, exclusive service. The goal is to make it an accessible utility, something millions of people can actually afford and rely on. It's a really inspiring idea, for sure. But is it a viable business? Okay, let's get into the mechanics of how this engine is actually designed to work, from how they get funded to how they reach people. So the funding strategy is laid out in 4 pretty distinct phases. It starts small, with seed money from founders and early sales. Then it scales up to angel investors and impact funds, people who care about the mission. And notice phase 3, it's pretty clever. They set up a nonprofit arm to take in tax-deductible donations. But the end game, the real goal, is phase 4, becoming totally self-funded by membership fees. That's the only real path to long-term sustainability. Their outreach plan has a similar phased approach, and it's built on one crucial word: trust. Instead of just blasting out ads, they're starting where the communities already are, digitally, on platforms like WhatsApp and TikTok. From there, they move to partnering with trusted community hubs, churches, mosques, local centers, before they even think about scaling up to broader advocacy. It's a true grassroots strategy, from the ground up. And looking at their first-year budget tells you so much about their priorities. A massive 45% is going to core staff, the actual people providing the help. And this is really important. 15% is set aside for the emergency fund itself. That means from day one, they're putting money directly into aid, not just into overhead. Okay, so we've seen the strategy. Now let's look at the actual rollout. This plan shows exactly how Lumara plans to grow from just a simple app into a physical, nationwide presence. The 12-month roadmap, it's ambitious, but it's totally logical. It goes from building a minimum viable product in the first 2 months to a beta launch, and then scaling up to 10,000 members by the 6-month mark. And by the end of that first year, the goal isn't just hitting 50,000 members, but actually starting to plan their very first physical, regional hub. And this slide really illustrates the long-term vision for that physical growth. The key here is how lean they start, completely virtual, no office. Then, instead of jumping right into expensive leases, the plan is to use shared spaces in places they're already partnered with. This lets them build a physical presence really smartly and cost-effectively before they ever commit to regional hubs and, eventually, these full-service national safety centers. So when you take the business model, the operations, the rollout plan, you put it all together and you finally arrive at the really big idea here, the creation of a truly self-funded safety net. I mean, the potential market here is just enormous. It's estimated at over 30 million underserved immigrants. Now, the plan isn't to reach everyone overnight. The initial goal is to get 10% of that market, which would translate to a whopping 3 million members. And this chart, this is where you really see the power of that subscription model when it scales. At just 50,000 members, the model is already bringing in significant revenue. But at their goal of 3 million members, the annual revenue would make this a massive, self-sustaining enterprise capable of providing support on a truly national level. And that brings us to this number, 3 million. Because in this model, 3 million isn't just a customer base, it's a community shield. It represents that tipping point where a collective can protect its own members through tiny, shared contributions, funding an entire system of mutual support. And ultimately, the entire blueprint leaves us with this really powerful question. By trying to turn a social service into a community-owned utility, the Lumara plan offers this fascinating model for sustainable impact, one that's built not on charity, but on collective empowerment.